Okay, so now we have, hopefully we can go through part 2, challenge 2 of part 1. So let's recap. We discussed accessing the system and getting your ID, getting your password, how to change your password, etc., etc. We did some ISPF. Again, ISPF is an editor for the mainframe, and now we're going to do a little Unix. And for the most part, Unix and Linux are the same things. There are some very, very minor differences between the two. Linux is specifically mainframe for the PC. I'm sorry, Linux is specifically for Unix for the PC. But Linux actually runs on the mainframe too, and it runs on other platforms. So Linux is Unix. Unix is an operating system that's used to do some very heavy-duty work. Very, very stable operating system. It was developed at I think Bell Labs back in the late 60s, early 70s. And Linux came on the scene about 20 years later by a gentleman by the name of Linus Torvalds, who's from Finland. And it is probably the most well-known open source piece of software. So there's a lot of history behind this, but we won't go into that now. So let's look at this challenge. In this challenge, we're going to be using our PuTTY client that I showed you how to download in the first 2 videos. And for you Mac users, you're going to use something called Terminal on your Mac. So the application is called Terminal. So you can just search for Terminal. And where we use PuTTY on the PC, you're going to use Terminal on the Mac. And I'll try to explain to you, or at least point out where that comes into play. Okay, so challenge 2, and you can read this state-of-the-art operating system, etc., etc. Two ways to access Unix on the mainframe. Well, there are more than 2, but actually, this challenge is going to use 2. So we're going to use the TN3270 client with which you're familiar from the first 2 videos, and then we're going to use SSH, which you will use either the PuTTY client or Terminal. Okay, let's go into our system. I'm going to log on, and again, I just do, it says you can log on with your ID, but I just use well, let's do it the way they do it. Let's do it the way they do it. Log on, and I'm Z00745. That's my user ID. And put in my password. And wait to see the 3 dots. Excuse me. I have a cold, I think. The 3 dashes, or 3 stars, rather. And you just press enter every time you see those 3 stars. Press enter to make the licensing material disappear. And I'm toggling between the directions and my link to the system. Okay. So this is a new one on me. I didn't know you could just put a U there. I'm used to using a 6, but it says put U. So we're in it now. Good. So that's a new way. That's something new for me. So here we're on the. This is the It's the Unix environment in mainframe, but it's technically called Unix System Services. Okay, we did that. Now we're doing ls command. So this is a command in Linux or Unix to display the files in your current directory. And we have one there called Z file. We have one file called Z file. And it wants us to so what we're doing with the echo command is we're writing, and I'm just going to copy this. You can type it in, and I recommend you type it in because at least you have a better understanding of what you're doing. But this command says I'm going to echo or write a string of text to a file. That little greater than sign at the end means that is a redirect operator. And it says you're going to write that to a file called Z file, the Z file in our system. And that's done. So we're going to ask it, who am I, Z file, see what happens. Who am I, greater than sign, Z file, let's see what happens. Okay, so it puts some more text in the Z file. Oh, wrong thing. I put LA instead of LS. Okay, so we still have Z file there. Now we're going to do the cat command, and it's going to output what's in Z file. Cat is a Linux. When I say Linux, I may say Linux. We're in Unix, but if I say Linux, that's because I'm used to working with Linux. But we're going to output what's in that file. And so it shows who I am. Now over here, it has my ID, and at SOW1, that is the partition that my ID lives on the system. TTP, TTYP 000. Don't worry about that for now, and the date. Now we're going to go into PuTTY. So let's minimize this screen. And we're going to fire PuTTY or terminal. So I'm going to fire PuTTY, and I already have the IP address in here, but you can type it in. The IP character is 192.86.32.159 with dots in between. You'll notice that that's the same IP address as you logged on with. So these are two different approaches to access the same system. And on the one, let me check, make sure I'm still talking, yeah, and still recording. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, when we logged in before with the 3270 client, and the client is just a tool. We access port 23. Here we're accessing port 22. Let me go back to PuTTY. And I'm going to, now for you terminal users, you're going to put a string of characters, and it shows you a string of characters I'm the same user, Z00745, and my same ID, and my same password. Now I'm on the system. For you terminal users, you're gonna from the terminal screen, you're gonna put, I think, SSH space username at the IP address 192, etc. Enter, and then it's gonna log you on. It's gonna ask you for your password. You'll come to the same screen. But I don't have a Mac to show you that with, and they have some instructions to help you along your way in that regard. So the first time you do it, I didn't see this because I had already logged on to it. There are these things called keys, SSH keys. SSH stands for Secured Shell Host. And first time you do it, you're going to see this. This is just saying, and keys are kind of beyond the scope of our conversation now, but they're authentication and security devices. But first time you see it, you're going to see this, and it tells you to hit yes, etc. There's the login, so we've already done this. So now we're at that prompt. So again, we're going to do LS like we did from the USS terminal. So I'm going to refer to this as the PuTTY terminal and the other as the USS terminal. We got the same result. Z file is the only file in there. We're looking at the same location on the system. And we're going to say cat Z file. Shows the same thing. We're going to enter who am I. I'll type it this time. Oh, type something wrong. Okay, let's see why that didn't work. Oh, I have to exit from the terminal. So I don't think I did that. I have to exit from this. Sorry. And I log off. Now let's see if I can, if this is going to work this time. Okay, maybe my syntax is wrong or something. Let me see. Am I supposed to have spaces there? Yes, spaces are fine. Let's read a little bit here. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, it wasn't supposed to output anything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, and CP is a copy command for CP is the copy command for Unix, and so and I think I'm going to have to type this in. I'm having some syntax problems. So I'm going to say CP. Let me read ahead a little bit to see what's supposed to happen. I already did this, but I forget what I did. So we're copying something to, we're copying it to a data set. So CP Z file double quote slash single quote. Now what this is doing is this is identifying, I know what it is. Because I copied their ID, and I was supposed to copy my ID, 00745.pds.data Z file. Single quote, double quote. All right, so let me explain what we're doing here. Even though it's on the same physical system, both of these activities are on the same physical system. They're actually separate. So here, and this is a little detail, so this is, the novices may not be able to follow along with this, but you folks that have a little IT experience can kind of follow along with this. It's two separate file systems we're working with. So we've got the file system inside of USS, and we've got the file system in ZOS. And what we're doing is we're copying the information from Z file on USS to a data set on ZOS. That's what we're doing here. Still not working. Okay, I'm going to pause and come back because I don't want to confuse you. I'm going to pause the recording and just come back when I work this out. Okay, so I think I figured out what I was doing wrong. I think I was doing something that I think the students do a lot of. They use a letter O instead of 0, but that's the only thing I could figure out I was doing wrong. I'll explain the syntax to you in a moment. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm saying CP means copy. The file on this system, Z file, and I'm copying this to a file in ZOS, which is another operating system, the operating system we log on to. And so I double quote / that's the syntax to say I want to copy this to a file, a data set on in ZOS. Double quote / single quote Z00745.pds.data in parens Z file. I've got to close my paren here. That'll cause me problems. Single quote, double quote. Yeah, the quotes can get a little tricky, and a couple of you have emailed me about this this particular thing. That's what it is. The syntax is a little tricky. So now I'll enter. And do it again. Yeah, so I know I've been doing it. File. double quote, slash, slash, single quote, trying to find it on my screen. Oh, it's not there, okay. I want to make sure I get the syntax correct. My ID, PDS data, okay. My ID, Z00745.pds.data, and I'm creating a member Z file on that data set. Single quote, double quote. Okay, cross your fingers, everybody. These quotes, single quotes and double quotes cause you problems. All right, that worked. So what that means is it put it in a data set. So let's see what else it wants us to do. We did that. Okay, so we're getting out of this. We're getting out of this now. So that's all it wants us to do. And we type exit. So now it wants us to go back into Unix System Services. I had logged off from that system. I got to log back onto it. It's okay. LTSO. I'm going to do the shortcut way this time. G00745. Password. Takes a second to log on because you got a bunch of stuff going on the Dallas system. A lot of activity. And I just hit enter for these wherever I see a star. All right, so I'm going to hit U now. Go back into Unix System Services. And so what does it want us to do? Oh, it wants us to get out of Unix System Services. So I'm in the wrong place. Well, this is a good chance to show you about the shortcut to get to any function in ISPF. So I hit B.4, which is going to shortcut me to dataset list utility. And wants me to go into my PDS. Oh, hitting the wrong keys. Hit the down key. Okay, let's do it the way they did. I did it a different way. Let's do it the way they did it. Let's get out of this. And what I didn't mention is case for ZOS case doesn't really make a difference. So lowercase, uppercase, basically the same thing. Okay, I got to substitute my ID. I remember to do that. Okay, what does it want me to do? So I enter this. Okay. Now, this is a command that I'm not really. Oh, it wants me to browse it. Okay. And you see I added another member Z file. That actually is pretty useful to go from Unix System Services file format to the ZOS file format. That's something you do a lot in Mainframe. And I'm going to select Z file member. Put an S there, enter. And we see the contents of what's in now these are two different files. This file is different than the file in Unix System Services, but basically it's the same thing. They're different files, but they have the same information in them. Okay, I think that's about it for part one. We exit from this. So all we wanted is, you know, part one is not intended to be especially difficult. You do F3s to get out of here. Log off. Okay, so now to turn in your work, what you're going to do is, I got to go back in the system. Make sure I don't have to do anything else. Okay, so we're going to go in here. We're going to run something called score report. It's much quicker in the marriage system, but much fewer people. So does it tell you how to get to the command shell? Yeah. You put in =6. From here, you're not putting =6, but you put =6. And then from here, you put score rep. Let me copy that, make sure. Score P1. Score P1. Enter. Yeah. And that sends a message to IBM that you finished part one. And you get your t-shirt. And so we'll move on to part two in future videos. That's it for part one. You know, in closing, I want to say that this is powerful technology. The world, the global economy is run on mainframe. If you unplug the mainframe, the global economy comes to a screeching halt. It's very important technology. It's not a very large space. There are not a lot of people working in this, but there are a lot of opportunities because the people that are working in it, and a lot is a relative term. If you weigh the people that work in mainframe against the people that work in other IT technologies, they're dwarfed, right? There's a minuscule number of people who work in mainframe. However, it's a very important space, and nobody is teaching it. That's why there are hundreds of job opportunities in this space. So if you learn this technology, this is an this is an excellent entree into the information technology field. Then if you want to have a career in mainframe, which many of my students have careers in mainframe, they work in mainframe for their, or at least have worked for their entire careers in mainframe. But if you want to branch out to another technology, something in networking, something in database, etc., maybe some development, that's pretty easy because mainframe is the most sophisticated technology that you're going to work with. And if you work on a mainframe, you can work on any other platform. So good luck with part one. Get your t-shirt, and we'll move on to part two in future videos.